Anthropic's brand new AI just made me $33,029 in 24 hours, trading completely on its own, and I can prove every trade. So we did something that honestly felt a little bit crazy, because we took Anthropic's brand new model, Fable 5, which only came out a couple of weeks ago, and we gave it a real trading account for 24 hours with nobody watching over its shoulder and no approvals in between, and we told it to trade aggressively with leverage in some of the most dangerous stocks on the market. And I genuinely thought there was a decent chance it would blow the account up overnight, but instead it finished the day up $33,029. And in this video, I'm going to walk you through exactly how that works, what the model could see, what it was allowed to touch, and every single trade it made, so you can go and verify all of it yourself. Let me give you the context first, so the numbers actually make sense, because we gave the model intraday leverage, and at its peak, it was running about $1.3 million of open positions at the same time. And I want to say something right away before anyone gets the wrong idea. This is absolutely not how we trade client money, and I'll come back to that at the end, because this experiment was really about one question, which is how good this technology has actually become when you take all the training wheels off for a single day. The first thing everyone asks me is what the model can actually see, and the honest answer is that it sees more than any human trader ever could, because it's watching live prices and the full order book while it reads every news headline and every filing the second they drop. And on a day like this one, the news basically is the trade, so that feed matters more than anything else. On top of that, it knows the background stuff most people never check, like the float, the short interest, and how much cash the business really has, and it's watching its own account the entire time, the positions, the P and L, the buying power left, which sounds trivial until you realize that's exactly what separates an AI that just takes shots from an AI that actually manages money. But seeing the market doesn't do anything on its own, so we had to build the model hands, which in practice means a small set of tools it can call whenever it decides to act. It can scan the whole market and ask for everything that fits its playbook at that exact moment. It can pull a fresh price right before it commits, because in these stocks, a price from 10 seconds ago is already old. It can place an order through a system, I'll explain in a moment, and after every single trade, it has to write a short journal entry explaining why it got in and why it got out. Reading that journal the next morning was honestly the wildest part of the whole experiment for me, because it reads like a real trader's brain printed out on paper, and the whole thing just runs on a loop where it looks, decides, acts, and writes it down every few minutes for 24 hours straight. And unlike me, it doesn't get tired at 2 in the morning, and it never once tried to win its money back on tilt. Now, about that order tool, because an AI with leverage should scare you, and it definitely scared me. So every order it places has to pass through a risk layer that the model literally cannot touch. There's a hard limit on how big any single position can get, and another limit on the whole book combined. A stop loss gets attached to every entry automatically, no exceptions, and there's a daily loss number where the entire session just shuts off dead, no matter what the model thinks it knows. So the AI gets to pick the trades, but how much damage it was even allowed to do was locked in before it started, and that one separation is the reason I could actually sleep that night. Well, mostly. So here's what actually happened, because the entire day ended up revolving around one headline. Meta announced it would start renting out its spare AI computing power, and the model read that story in a way I found genuinely impressive. Its reasoning, straight from the journal, went like this. Meta spends billions building data centers, and if it can now rent out the extra capacity, all that spending suddenly starts looking like a moneymaker instead of a money pit. So Meta probably deserves to be worth more. But there's a whole group of smaller companies whose entire business is renting out exactly that kind of computing power, and they just watch the biggest player in the world walk into their market overnight. So the very same headline that's great for Meta is genuinely bad news for them. And instead of picking a side, the model traded both sides of the same story at once. It bought the winner and it shorted the victim. So whichever way the market digested the news, it was positioned for it. And here's how that played out in real positions, which are all on your screen right now with every entry, exit, and timestamp. It went long Meta at 6:07 as the core of the day, and on the other side, the biggest short of the day was a company called Nebius. It opened way down on the news, tried to bounce, failed to reclaim VWAP, and just kept getting sold on volume. So the model got short at 240, covered at 229, and that single trade made a bit over 10 grand. It did the same thing to CoreWeave, the most obvious victim of the headline, for just under 8,000, and then layered two smaller shorts in IREN and Applied Digital, and I love its journal note on those, because it wrote that these weren't perfect shorts on their own, but the whole group was trading as one theme, and the theme was going down. Completely separate from the Meta story, it also grabbed Tempus AI as a pure momentum trade in AI healthcare, which was already running hot that morning, and turned into another 10,000, while small longs in Google and Nvidia sat quietly on the side as the boring mega cap sleeve. Add it all up, and that's 8 positions, 8 winners, just under 36,000 gross, and then slippage, borrow fees, commissions, and financing took their cut of about 2,800, which left the day at plus $33,029 net. Now look, one good day is one good day, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend that a single Tuesday is a track record, because if somebody ever shows you one green day and asks for your money, you should run. But think about what you just watched, because that model read a headline, understood who wins and who loses, built 8 positions around it, managed all of them at once, and wrote down its reasoning the entire way through. And that's not a demo of something coming next year. That actually ran on a real account on July 1st. And the calmer, sensible version of that exact same setup is what's been running our main system all year, which is the one that's up about 70% since January, trading the big AI names without any of the crazy settings. Somebody in the comments is going to say this looks too clean, and honestly, 8 trades without a single loser is not normal. I know that, and if the model had been wrong about Nebius, the stop loss would have kicked it out at a loss just like any other trade. That's literally why it exists. It happened to be right 8 times on one very readable day, and that's exactly why every timestamp is on the screen, and why these are all liquid names where you can pull up the July 1st chart and check every price yourself. So let me say it plainly, this result is not typical, leverage cuts both ways, and this was money we could afford to lose completely. The lesson is not that AI trading is free money, the lesson is that the tools have changed quietly and massively, and most people haven't noticed yet. So if you want to see the sensible version of all this, the one that trades inside your own brokerage account, where I couldn't touch your money even if I wanted to, just send me a message, the links are down below, and subscribe, because next time we're giving it a whole week.